asking very broadly in this lab, and we'll continue asking here at Cornell, questions about what factors, like what molecules and what genes are important for proper muscle development and to keep those muscles healthy. And then on the flip side of that, what happens if those factors aren't present? How does that possibly lead to disease? And some of these conditions like muscular dystrophies and myopathies that we see in human populations.
Basically, we're working with flies, and the specific fly we're working with is fruit flies.
We're dissecting larvae of regular fruit flies we would expect to have normal muscle development, looking at how that muscle looks under a microscope. And then we're also dissecting flies that are fed aspirin.
We're going to be analyzing them to quantify and figure out how aspirin affects their muscle development as well as how it affects their neuromuscular junctions.
We know a lot about how aspirin works in terms of immune function and inflammation and pain relief and those things. There's still a lot of questions about how that drug works on other tissues in the body.
The fruit fly, and their scientific name is Drosophila melanogaster, they're 60% homologous with humans.
Flies are one of the big biological model organisms, and so there are a lot of organisms that in biology we found are really useful for kind of translating what we know and looking at the biology that's shared between flies and people.
My dream since I was a child was to do research, and I've always been a little bit afraid because I do have visual impairment, so I didn't know how much that would impede my ability to do research, and here I am working with tiny flies. So, and it's awesome to work with Nicole because she's super helpful at making things accessible for me. For example, when we're dissecting the larvae, they're clear, so it's really hard for me to cut, but we found out that we have this methylene blue that I can stain the larva, and it makes my cuts clear, and so I can more easily go in there and dissect.
I want to be a pediatrician, so for the AMCAS and applying to medical school, a lot of research hours are needed, so I kind of want to use the Green Lab, and in conjunction with Nicole Green, I want to be able to get a good amount of research hours and be able to make an impact.